the moderates on the extremists. So that's 1984. Reagan had come into office a couple years earlier. His administration had immediately declared that the war against terrorism would be the focus of U.S. foreign policy, and they identified two regions as the source of this plague by depraved opponents of civilization itself, Central America and the Middle East. And there was quite wide agreement on that. So in 1985, for example, every year Associated Press has a poll of editors on the most important story of the year. And in 1985, the winner was Middle East terrorism, so they agreed. Right towards the end of that year, 1985, Shimon Peres, Israeli Prime Minister, came to Washington, and Reagan and Peres denounced the evil scourge of terrorism, referring to the Middle East. Scholarship and experts also agreed with a huge literature for the last 20 years on terrorism, particularly state-supported international terrorism. Time to review it, but a good illustration, which I'll keep to, is the December 2001 issue of Current History, journal Current History, good serious journal. It's called America at War. It includes leading historians, specialists, experts on terrorism. And they identified the 1980s as the era of state-supported, state-sponsored terror, agreeing with the Reagan administration. And I agree with that too. I think it was the era of state-sponsored international terrorism. One leading author, Martha Crenshaw, says that in that era, the United States adopted a proactive stance to deter the plague. Mostly it's about the Middle East, but Central America is occasionally mentioned. For example, U.S. support two authors, co-authors, from the Brookings Institution, described the U.S. war against, the U.S. Contra war against Nicaragua as a model for how to fight a war against terrorism. They say that that was a model for U.S. support for the Northern Alliance in the current phase of the war against terrorism. The seeds of contemporary terrorism, however, are much deeper. The major historian in the group points out, David Rappaport, being academic specialist on terrorism, editor of Journal of Terrorism, and so on. He points out that it goes back to the origins of modern terrorism, like Osama bin Laden. They go back to the early 1960s, when, I'm quoting him now, when Vietcong terror against the American Goliath kindled the hopes that the Western heartland was vulnerable. I won't comment on that, but I'd like you, just as an exercise, you might try to find a historical analog